Hello and welcome to the ECPPS podcast. I am Clay Mercer, and with me today, as always, is Board Chair Angela Cobb. Angela, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Last time we were together, you were talking to me over Zoom, and you said you love just being here inside the studio. It's just a different type of feel.
It is a different type of vibe to have a microphone in front of you and be able to see people face to face. I like that contact much better than a screen.
Yeah, and I need some warm feelings because January has been very, very cold.
Yes.
And it's cold right now, too. So thank you all for joining us here. We have a great show ahead. Of course, we will recap some of the special moments from the recent board session that took place. But before we get there, as we were talking a little bit about January, it is Board Member Appreciation Month. And Dr. Keith Parker, superintendent, gave staff a chance to give their thoughts about the board. And there was a lot of positive thoughts from the staff. And I think that just makes you feel good that the morale is so high within the district. I'll speak a little bit about that and the importance of the staff just loving where they work.
It is, well, to me, it's the number one thing that matters, because if you are not satisfied and happy and excited about your work environment, that's already a strike against you wanting to be there and be involved. Mm-hmm. Dr. Parker surprised us. We had no idea that he was going to, quote unquote, roast us in front of everyone in the room and on the YouTube channel. Yeah. But it was really nice to hear the things that we try to do, the image that we try to have of being district forward and student forward and staff advocates, and a lot of the comments I think showed that, and so that was a really pleasant surprise. And I told him afterwards, a gift is nice for board appreciation, but that was a really neat gift. Yeah. It was a nice gift to be able to have. And then afterwards, I called my son and I said, Dr. Parker said that your child is already going to be enrolled in ECPPS, even though he's only 1 year old. Wow. So I'm manifesting, So it was a good feeling for all of us to be able to hear that what we think we're doing, we actually are doing.
I think you have it in your mind that you are doing well, but then when you hear it, especially from your coworkers, your staff, the board members, it just makes you feel so good. So that was really a special moment. And other special moments that have happened in the district take place on the field. And we want to put a little spotlight on the sports side of things. And we want to recognize Mr. Antonio Gomez, who's the coordinator of ECPPS Soccer League. And it's wonderful to see the youngsters get out there on the field and have a great time. That has been a wonderful addition to the district.
Yeah. And the thing that about elementary sports, we're unique. There aren't very many elementary schools in districts around us. I don't know of any really that do elementary basketball, and that's where it started. Mm-hmm. And it went away for a little while because of COVID, and we were really excited to see it come back. There are so many more lessons taught in a team sport like that than just the physicality of playing the sport.
That's correct.
You learn, sportsmanship. You learn how to cooperate, work together, communicate, and it also sets the tone in the school. It gives schools a sense of pride. It gives them, it's teaching elementary kids what they're going to learn as a basis for when they get to middle school or high school, and then those high school sports kick in and it becomes hardcore. We have such great sports teams at our high schools, and so it's preparing students for that and seeing the success of the elementary basketball and then having soccer added.
Yes.
And no one has soccer, and so now you've got soccer, you've got another sport that appeals to, a different kind of athlete in some certain cases than basketball does. Yeah. And so we honored Coach Gomez because he took literally the ball and ran with it. I mean, he developed that program. He got people to buy into it. He made sure that everything was taken care of and the kids had a wonderful experience. And so now they have two opportunities at the elementary level to be able to start feeling like what it would feel like in a school sport to participate. Yeah. And it's very exciting, I think.
It's wonderful to see the students out there just enjoying themselves, and I think Mr. Gomez understood the importance of it, and I'm so happy that it's going well within our district. Speaking of January, obviously we talked a little bit about the cold weather, and it has an effect on the district when it comes to the weather decisions. And I think some of the listeners, especially the parents out there, would love to hear a little bit more about the process of how those decisions are made. If you could take us in a little bit and let us know how those decisions are made. And also, I think sometimes people say, can we make these decisions a little earlier? Things of that nature. Could you take us into the process a little bit?
Absolutely. It is a process, that's for sure. And the decisions to alter the school schedule, whether it's a delay or a closing, are not taken lightly, because the district understands any time a decision is made to alter a school schedule, there's going to be an impact on families. There's going to be an impact on, jobs and employment hours and getting students to and from school and having to adapt and adjust at the last minute. So those decisions are not made lightly. As far as what goes into that process, Dr. Parker and his staff, Ms. Hill especially, our transportation director, they are in constant contact with emergency management in the county and city. They get updates, weather updates, those kinds of things. There's a very strong line of communication there so that we know if there are weather advisories or things that could potentially cause some schedule changes. And then when using this winter storm that we were supposed to just have as an instance, if there are questions about road conditions, Ms. Hill and her staff, and a lot of times Dr. Parker as well, will be up driving roads at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to make sure that they see if there are any road conditions that might be unsafe for our parents or students to travel on, or our buses to travel on. And what's hard to understand, sometimes people look out the front door or their window and go, well, I don't have anything at my house. Well, there might be, and working in Weeksville, I know this because it's happened before. In Glen Cove, the conditions might be completely different than they would be on Fire Tower Road down in Newland. So again, when the decisions are made, they have to be made to represent the entire school district, not just one section or one elementary school area. And so that becomes interesting. And then one of the kudos I would give to them, they've tried really hard to make the calls early. Now, traditionally, historically, you would get a 5:30 in the morning call, which then, and as a former single parent, I knew what those kind of calls would do to my life. And so you have to scramble at the last minute. And Dr. Parker has been very purposeful on trying to make calls the night before whenever possible. And, looking at and making sure that giving parents enough time to adjust. After the board, a funny story, after the board meeting Monday night, when we all went to leave, it was snowing a little bit. Out of nowhere. We were supposed to get all of the snow. We got nothing. We were ready and primed to make whatever calls needed. There were no calls to be made. And then when we walked out of the board meeting on Monday night, it was snowing a little bit. And everybody kind of laughed about, oh, yeah, well, it snowed more. And some northern parts of our county got a dusting. And they were up riding the roads at 4:30 early Tuesday morning to double check and make sure that this rogue snowstorm that came about that nobody knew about wasn't going to impact, our weather. And he was a little bit distressed because he said, if I have to make a call, it's going to be an early morning call, and I don't want to do that. But he feels, and he knows the board supports in his feeling, you should always err on the side of caution. I know sometimes it's inconvenient. We hate that. But I would much rather suffer a little bit of an inconvenience than have to suffer a tragedy of a bus accident or an accident involving a family or students or staff members. So I think that it's a very purposeful decision when those kinds of calls are made. It's made as early as possible. But sometimes, like Monday night, there was no snow forecast for us. And then all of a sudden you have a dusting of snow and 18-degree temperatures, you have to pivot. And so we always are looking at doing what is in the best interest of and the safest interest of our students and families.
Thank you for that. And I totally understand it. I think in this area, sometimes we do look out the window and we look at the main road and it looks pretty clear, and you don't really understand those back roads where the buses have to travel and pick up the students. You have to think about that too. And so I really commend Dr. Parker and the entire team for doing the diligent work and making the decisions that's best for us and best for our families and students. So.
One other thing too, Clay, that I didn't mention, that some of our buses travel in the dark in the morning. And so, again, delays, a lot of times delays are made so that we can get the sun up. And then you can see those roads a little bit clearer and make sure that if there are some spotty black ice places here and there, that you're not traveling in the dark. Mm-hmm. Also, looking at cold is a factor. Do we delay school for cold weather as far as temperatures? Not normally, but you do have to think that while your student might have a nice warm coat and be in a warm, heat-filled car on the way to school, some of our students don't have that. And so we try to keep everyone in mind when we make those decisions.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's the ECPPS podcast. Clay Mercer here with Board Chair Angela Cobb. Rolling through a few more of the recognitions that we had at the recent board meeting. It was a recognition of 4 employees who completed the Treasure Academy, brought to us by the North Carolina Association of School Business Officials. I'd like to bring some recognition to Ms. Dorian Felton at Northside Elementary School, Crystal Smith at P.W. Moore, Michelle Spence at the E.C. Pasquotank Early College, and Michelle White over at Sheep Harney. This is something that's really important, and I think people just have to understand that the bookkeepers do an outstanding job, and for them to get the professional development they need, it just makes the district that much better.
Absolutely. Those 4 ladies did those classes in addition to what they do every day. And so the classes, from what I understand from what Miss Tilley was telling us about, range in anything from bookkeeping procedures to even how to deal with difficult people. And what a lot of folks don't realize, bookkeepers in schools are not just bookkeepers. They wear so many different hats. And a lot of those ladies work with Infinite Campus and student data. Some of them are on the front lines at greeting people who come into the building. They work with students. They work with staff members. So they really wear a lot of different hats. And to be able to take part in this opportunity to get some professional development, it just makes them even better for our district than they already are, because they're wonderful, but they're just fine-tuning and honing their skills, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, so happy we were able to highlight them at the recent board meeting. Special recognition, and I'm so excited to learn more about Dr. Debbie Stooks and learn a little bit more about her history and what she has been to the district and her commitment to the district. Talk a little bit about her history, and how important she has been.
So Dr. Stooks is a retired educator from Virginia. And she has come on board and worked in a variety of capacities with our district, working with principals in helping them grow in their capacity as leaders, working with other staff members, and pretty much, you think when you retire, you walk away from and you have time for family and you have time for yourself and time to pursue additional interest. And she really has walked away from retirement in Virginia and just immersed herself in Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools. Yeah. And so any role that we've asked her to do, she's taken it on. And at first it started more of, I guess, in a part-time capacity. Mm-hmm. But a situation presented itself where we needed an interim career and technical education director. And she stepped in as the interim CTE director full-time after retiring and continued doing some other things in the district, some other roles in the district. And so we wanted to take the opportunity on Monday night at the board meeting to just recognize her and thank her for her service to our community, because she is on her time now, but she selflessly gave her time to our school district. Mm-hmm. And so one of her roles that's continuing right now is that she's not in that interim CTE director position anymore, because we have hired a new permanent CTE director, mm-hmm. but she is working with our new director in capacity for transition. Mm-hmm. So, that too is she follows through. She's not just a come in and fix it type person, mm-hmm. but she's a come in and work with different individuals in different capacities to make them grow and be the best them that they can be.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Dr. Stooks, for the time that you have put in. And it's a wonderful transition into CTE. And I think some of our listeners may hear those letters and may not know what it means. So we have a special guest that's with us here today who can give us a little bit more insight on that. And if you would, take a little bit of time and introduce our special guest here today.
I sure will. So with us today, we have our new Career and Technical Education Director, Morgan Murray. And Morgan is a product of our school district, so that's just a wonderful thing. We were talking on the way over in the car about how this position is almost a full circle moment for her. And so it's really nice to be able to see a student come from our school district and then go out in the world, but realize that this school district gave them such a foundation, and then to come back and give back is pretty great to see. So Morgan is with us today, and she's going to share some things about herself and CTE and her vision and the direction. And it's an exciting time, I think, for our school district, but also for Elizabeth City, for our community, because one of the things that I think you're going to hear from Morgan is how we have we're really reaching out for community partnerships even more in so many different capacities and giving our students opportunities. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to let her do that part. But we're really glad to be able to have her with us here today.
Yeah, so happy to have you with us, Morgan. And again, you're a product of this district. Speak a little bit about your history here within the district and let the listeners know a little bit more about you.
Thank you so much for having me. It certainly has been a full circle moment for me. I've been raised in Elizabeth City. It's where I'm from. I attended Weeksville Elementary, River Road, and then Northeastern High School. And I myself was a CTE student. And I have so much respect and such a deep, profound passion for CTE because it shaped who I was, who I am. I took health science courses in high school. I took food and nutrition courses. But where my heart and passion lies is in agriculture, And with that, I had wonderful mentors. And there were just so many opportunities for me to explore my passions. And that's where I grew and I found new skills and I built my confidence up to be able to go out into the workplace. Upon graduation, I ended up attending NC State University where I majored in agricultural science. I minored in animal and poultry science and agricultural business management. I ended up coming back home and I taught agriculture. Well, not only agriculture, I also taught drone technology and career management. And so, it just goes back to not only did I have a passion in agriculture, but also in different career pathways. Yeah. And so really just meeting the needs of our students and being someone who can listen and try to direct them into a career path of their choosing. And I'm just extremely excited to be here, excited for this opportunity, and excited to see the future of CTE in Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools. It's
wonderful to hear, and we're going to talk about some pathways in just a few moments. Yeah. But for the listeners who may not know what CTE means, could you explain those letters and kind of what our students are able to embrace when they become a part of the program?
Absolutely. So CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. And these courses include health science courses, agriculture, construction, automotive, food and nutrition. And it gives students the opportunity to experience work-based learning, to become more aware of themselves, to figure out what it is they want to do, what path they're going to take. It gives them the opportunity to earn industry-recognized credentials that's going to help them after they graduate high school, whether they go to a university or into the military or directly into the workforce. And it allows them to build relationships and to network and to meet business professionals that could perhaps help them land a job or give them direction of what it is they exactly want to do.
Yeah, it's the hands-on learning that's exciting for me. I mean, they get that real, true experience that's going to help them out. Could you imagine your career and where you would be without this program?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Looking back, I used to want to be a veterinarian, and that's always what I wanted to do, and that was the path that I was going to take. But if someone was to ask me, what exactly do you enjoy doing? It's sharing my experiences with others and sharing my passion and communicating. I'm a people's person. Yeah. I love learning. I truly believe in lifelong learning. Mm-hmm. I like to be challenged. And so I owe my career and everything to career and technical education and the mentors and supporters and this community.
Wow. the pathways, and that's something that I noticed on the website. The information is available right there. Speak a little bit about those pathways and the different directions that students can go and what they can learn.
Absolutely. So, when we look at the framework for career development, it really begins in fifth grade, where students are becoming aware of what exactly it is, what is a career, what options are there for me, and really just that exposure that continues into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, where they're exploring different careers. So are they interested in healthcare? Are they interested in core construction? And it kind of gives them a framework, a direction. And so then carrying on into high school, they're able to kind of focus in on that pathway. So let's say we have a student who knows they want to be a doctor one day, perhaps. So once they develop their plan in 8th grade, they're able to kind of go into high school, and there's a plan. They can take Health Science 1, Health Science 2, and then perhaps land an internship. And so there are various pathways that include animal science, natural resources, core construction, food and nutrition, business and marketing, fire tech. So there's tons of opportunities, and that's one thing that I'm extremely excited about. And what I was so passionate about coming over is that I believe there's 16 different pathways that students can take in high school, so there's definitely opportunities for all.
As the new director, your vision for this program, put it out on the table for us and take us inside and let us know what you see this program being within the next 5 years, the next 10 years. What is your outlook on this?
When I think in simple terms, I don't want a student to graduate high school not knowing what they want to do because they weren't given the opportunity to experience it. And so that is my goal, to ensure that students have a clear direction and that they're exposed to all these different opportunities. I don't expect a student to know 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade what it is they want to do. I mean, if they do, that's great, but it's just exposing them to all the different directions that they can go, and really just making sure that we're meeting their needs for sure. So.
It's so funny. Just a aside, I was just talking to my cousin a couple of days ago about this, and they were speaking about people who get into college, and by the time they get to maybe their junior year, they still don't know. It's interesting, and so when I hear about this program, CTE, and what it provides, that hands-on training so early, it changes. It can change a life, because sometimes you just don't know until you actually experience it, and that's what I love about this program.
I like how you said that. And so I have an experience with a student before that they wanted to be a veterinarian, and so I made some calls and connections, and she landed a job as a kennel assistant, I believed, and she came back and she was like, Miss Murray, this is not what I want to do. And I'm like, that's okay, though, because that was still a win.
I agree.
Because if she didn't get that experience, she could have graduated, went on with that direction to go to vet school, and then later down and all the money later figured out that wasn't where her passion lied. And so that's just one of the major things that excites me.
Morgan Murray, ECPPS Director of Career and Technical Education, thank you so much for being a part of today's show. I love your attitude. I love your vision, and that just means you'll be back on this show really, really soon. So thank you so much for what you're doing for the district. Looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. It's the ECPPS podcast. Clay Mercer and Board Chair Angela Cobb still here with me. And we also took a little bit of time to thank some young students who represented the school district back on MLK Day. And, of course, it's always a special time when our students come together and create these type of events. I'd like to give a lot of love to Mr. Ryan Spruill over at Northeastern High School, as well as Gabrielle Rivers, Northeastern High School junior class president also, and Abel Sutton, who gave us a nice song to finish off the recognition there. But just speak a little bit about what they were able to bring to the table on MLK Day.
So those three students, if you want a snapshot of the quality of student we have in this district, those three students represent just everything that we see in our students. We have such amazing students in this district. And to be able to just show a snippet of that by highlighting those three students, they planned the event from what I understand.
From beginning to end.
And listening to all three of them, in the capacities that they were in, listening to Ryan speak and how just eloquent he spoke about his feelings and about the impact that Martin Luther King Jr. had on not just his life, but the lives of his relatives. And it was powerful. Gabby, I've heard Gabby speak before, but Gabby she is such a powerful speaker. Yes. And you could tell in the command of just the way she presented herself. Northeastern's lucky to have her leading the junior class for sure. And then I always have a soft spot for Abel because I've known him since he was born, but that boy can sing, and he got up there and with his gift, just like the others had the gift of being able to present their words, with his gift of how he presents his words, it just stopped time for a few minutes because he just commanded that room. And so being able to highlight those 3 students, being able to showcase, what makes our community so great. The diversity in our community is one of our strengths, and being able to showcase just their commitment to excellence in planning something that had such an impact. So very, very just honored to be able to recognize those 3.
So happy to see them get recognized for their work. And I was also happy to see the recognition of H.L. Trigg Community School. It was the educational highlight at this month's board meeting. They call it Same Destination, Different Path. It's a small program, but it's important to the mission of the district. Talk a little bit about the importance of H.L. Trigg and what they do day in and day out.
One of the pluses in our district is that I think we try really hard to meet the needs of all students. And so Mr. Paulette started off his presentation with us by giving us a quiz. And it tickled me because, all the educators in the room were like, oh boy, here we go. But the quiz was to take a list of about 7 factors and to order them in order of importance as to what we thought brought most students to Trigg. And so the number 1 reason that students go to Trigg is attendance issues. And sometimes our community doesn't have that perception. So I think it's a responsibility of everyone that knows what Trigg does and the positivity that's going on there to spread that word. Trigg is not a place where students go that just have disciplinary issues. And the program has changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. A lot of that I attribute to the people leading the program. Chris Paulette is an amazing educator. He's got a staff that's working with him that is in sync, and they know what to hone in on to meet the needs of their kids. Dr. Parker has allowed him to kind of have some flexibilities in what he's done, and he really has done some innovative things. But looking at attendance issues is what brings students there. The students that go to H.L. Trigg, for whatever reason, have not been as successful as they could be in a traditional school setting. And so when they do go to Trigg, they do kind of like an intake with each student and look at what is going to be the best case scenario and the best plan for this student to get them to walk across that stage with a high school diploma. And a lot of students, when they first get there, they have so many other things on their plate. That's way down on the priority list. And so through purposeful planning and support, whether it's academic support, behavioral support, mental health support, whatever kind of support. He mentioned in his presentation that he has one student who has a child and works a full-time job, and she's still going to school. And so they work around her to help her schedule be conducive as such that she can be an employee and a mom and also be a successful student. And I think that is paramount to success for any student, not just students at H.L. Trigg. One of the things that Dr. Parker mentioned afterwards that resonated with me is that H.L. Trigg is a school of choice. And people don't look at it like that, but I remember from when I was a high school principal, we did have some students that just that setting was better for them for whatever reason. And so when you look at students that are going to H.L. Trigg, they maybe realize that they are not going to have a successful enough experience in a traditional high school. And it might not be their choice originally that they're going there. But in the end, I think the success we've seen, especially, and he did some statistics of how many students had graduated over the last 2 or 3 years, and 17 students, 18 students, that's significant. When you take a look at the impact that has on the high school graduation rates, that's significant. So just kind of sharing with us, where Trigg is at, what's going on, the typical, non-typical student, because no student there is a typical student, and just showing how this is just another choice. We like to say we give students choices, and in our school and programs that we're doing and supports that we're giving, this is just another choice to meet the needs of our young people.
Yeah. And that need is to make sure that all of our students prosper and are on a path of success. And HL Trigg is a part of that. So a wonderful job that they are doing over there. And he also talked about the community partners that have really helped out. And, of course, ECSU, College of the Albemarle, and so many others who have provided the students a chance to come over and kind of see what is possible and give them a chance to learn a little bit more. So great job over there at HL Trigg. It has changed over the years, and I think it's changed for the better. So I'm looking forward to seeing the progress continue there. Now, we're near the end of today's show, but I want to bring a spotlight to a brand new documentary that so many people are talking about, brought to you by our friends over at EdNC, and it focuses on the life and legacy of Mr. P.W. Moore. Now, you know him as the first president at Elizabeth City State University, a transformational educational leader here in northeastern North Carolina. This is a wonderful documentary, and I wanted you to kind of talk about it and let people know what they can expect to see from this wonderful documentary.
So we had a videographer who pretty much spent a year in P.W. Moore on a daily basis, capturing the essence of that school, if you will, and the impact that the community schools model has had on our community, and especially the students at P.W. Moore. The community schools model is designed around pillars of support. And the supports come from everywhere. They make, I won't say they make things easier, but they make things a little bit less troubling for parents who have certain needs. For instance, here's an example. Instead of a parent having to take a student out to get a physical for school at a doctor and having to worry about doctor's appointments and scheduling, the opportunities for students to get a physical in the school were available. The community comes out and supports P.W. Moore in family dinner nights where families come out, they eat a provided hot, yummy meal. They have an opportunity to sit down on an equal playing field with teachers and staff and just talk to them. And then on this family dinner nights, other resources from the community are there. The Lions Club might be there doing eye checks, or there might be the health department doing immunizations, or family portraits, or just some things that might be difficult for some of our families to go out and attain on their own. And so they had a videographer come in, spent the year there, captured the essence of P.W. Moore community schools, and created a documentary that showed the impact of our community and our community resources and what can happen and turn around a building when everyone is involved. And so now our community schools program has expanded. We have a community schools model in Elizabeth City Middle School and at Northeastern High School, and they are doing some amazing things at those schools. But their foundation came from seeing what happened at P.W. Moore. The documentary was debuted and allowed viewing for community leaders, community interested community parties, and it was actually put out at Moore Hall at Elizabeth City State, which was powerful. Here you are watching a documentary about Peter Moore Elementary School, the school named after Peter Wendell Moore, and you're in Moore Hall, and it was just really a neat thing. Yeah. That documentary has gone on to be seen in Raleigh at the State Board of Education, and now has been released for community view at large. I know that Dr. Parker has in the back of his mind some thoughts about doing some community viewing, so we would love for our audience to be on the lookout for that. If you ever really weren't sure about what goes on in a school, you spend some time watching that documentary, and you see very quickly what goes on in a school.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Can't wait to hear more about it. I have not seen the documentary yet, but I love documentaries. That's usually what I do in my leisure. They say, what do you do to have fun? I like to sit down and look at documentaries. And so this one is going to be one that's on the list. I can't wait to see more about it. And again, if you want to hear more about this or read more about this and so much more about what's happening in the district, you can always go to the official website. It's always available to you, ecpps.k12.nc.us. Board Chair Cobb, again, a wonderful show here today. January is such a special time because it brings in the new year. So this is my first time saying Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too.
And looking forward to what should be a wonderful 2026 for this district, for our very, very, very special guests. We thank so much Morgan Murray for being a part of this. Angela Cobb, again, thank you so much. And we look forward to February's show, and we're going to have a lot more to tell everybody about.
Thank you.
The ECPPS podcast is powered by Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools in collaboration with the Elizabeth City State University Department of Radio and Television Services. Recorded and produced at WRVS Studios on the campus of ECSU.